Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Nell Wood, and today's class is going to be moderate. Of course, you can always modify to go lesser or even more, but the level I'm going to present is about moderate. And I've got blankets to sit on, I've got blocks to use to help pull the floor up. So please make sure that you have all you need. I've also got something to drink to keep me hydrated. And there'll also be relaxation at the end. So make sure you have time and space in order to stretch out. I'm going to go ahead and take off a layer, and you can fully enjoy relaxation at the end. So take your time settling in on your breath, coming into that comfortable seated position. Your legs are any way that feel good. Finding that solid base underneath you and supporting you, and then lifting from that base, taking up all that space. And your breath is full and deep as feels good to you. As you sit here, it'll get fuller and deeper. And right away, set the intention to treat yourself with kindness, compassion, and love, no matter what comes up in your thinking, in your thoughts. You always return to kindness, compassion, and love for yourself. Let that breath be full and deep. Send that breath to the bottom third of your lungs, and then feel the middle third of your lungs fill up, and then the upper third, and then release fully upper, middle, lower. Let that 3-part yoga breath keep you connected to yourself, your body, the very present moment we're having right here, right now. And that connection to yourself and where you're at. Being able to be with that no matter what is going on is a great skill that you hone. You do it by becoming tolerant of even your most worst trait for yourself. You show up for yourself realistically, but also kindly. That 3-part yoga breath, when it fills up that lower third, press your navel right into that space in front of you, and then feel the ribs move up and apart, and then feel the heart move up in your chest. And then when you exhale, heart and chest relax, ribs move down and together, and then you pull that navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again. You fill up, pressing that navel out, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And that navel, that's where we started. That is the very beginning of us. And so bringing your awareness to that place where you began, to keep you connected to your most root and base self, which is love and light. That exercise, especially when you feel lost and scared and lonely out in the world, returning to your root always helps to comfort and support you. Keeping your awareness on your breath, your life force. Letting those hands make their way to your heart in prayer position. Take a moment to set an intention for your practice. Letting yourself set that intention deep inside. And letting it grow and get stronger through the practice. Take 3 big, full, deep breaths to seal in your intention. And then your hands can come back down to your lap or at your sides. Just let yourself breathe full and deep. Inhale and exhale. And then let yourself unwind. If you sat up on something, maybe take yourself up off of it. Let yourself unwind and then start to do that little windshield wiper so you get a little blood flow. We are going to stay on our seat for just a few moves, but let's make sure that you take time in this reset. Stay lifted up off your limbs. You're not putting a lot of strength, a lot of weight on your limbs. And then when you come back to that comfortable position, that seated easy pose, try to have your legs be opposite of what they just were. So if the right leg was tucked in closer, maybe do the opposite. Just feel, it's whatever way you feel comfortable. And then those hands come back to your heart and you are activating your shoulder girdle, pressing the palms together. Really feel that line of energy from the shoulders to the palms. And then you're going to inhale, lift up over your head. Exhale, pull down right behind. Inhale, lift up, pull back down. So it's just a nice, easy move. You're really not straining your head, pulling your neck forward. If it's too much to pull down behind, just pull to the top of your head. That works just as well. A couple times. Really feeling that shoulder girdle open up. And then pause, hands at the heart. Dip to the left or right, doesn't matter which way you go. We're going to go side to side. Let yourself dip a few times. Feeling that length and that engagement as you move, starting to wake up the body. And then you're going to pause in a neutral position. Just let yourself breathe full and deep, inhaling and exhaling, noticing how you feel. And then let yourself come over onto those hands and knees. Take time to bring your cushion down so your knees stay protected. And let yourself press back into your child to begin with. Taking up all that space, pressing down and back with your whole self, reaching up and forward with your whole self. Feeling that nice stretch underneath your arms and then maybe across the middle to upper back. Instead of squeezing your shoulder blades together, think about pulling them down and gently tucking them in. And feel that engagement when you do that. Try to stay aware of yourself from the inside out. So you're pressing back and feel yourself press back from the inside. And then the same with the reach and the lift. Feel yourself lift and reach from the inside. Breathing full and deep. You're keeping navel down as your support and navel up is your reach and length. When you're done with your child, you're going to lift up into that table position. Stay in that stable table, holding yourself right behind your navel, right in front of your tail. Don't hyperextend your elbows and start to move through your cat and cow. Try to really get this movement more in your middle back, inhaling and exhaling, trying to coordinate the breath and the movements. Going as fast or as slow. We are going to get going a little bit more. We are said moderate, and I'm going to deliver moderate. It's just getting started. I wanted to take it a little bit slow. Don't Jump right into all the stuff. All right, after a few cat and cows, pause in that neutral table, and then let yourself walk those hands maybe a little bit away from those knees, just so you've got room to start to make some big circles. And maybe your circles aren't as big as mine, maybe they're just little, and then they get a little bit bigger, but you're paying attention to your joints as you move around. Maybe they aren't even circles, maybe it's more like a figure 8. So let yourself move as much far forward, as much far back as feels good. Pause anywhere that feels good, but try to not just feel yourself holding yourself by your arms. Try to feel yourself lift up in that place right there behind your navel. Feel yourself lift with your tail right there above where your crack is, and move with that awareness of your center of gravity. And after you go around in a few directions, both ways, you're going to eventually pause. You'll be done with the movement. Once again, press yourself back into your child. Completely release. Let yourself have that variation of child that best suits you. I love this. Reach back behind and you get a nice rounded pull and stretch on the back, but you always are only doing whatever feels good to you. You are the complete boss. And hopefully I'll give you suggestion about how, like I said, if you want to add more to the practice, or maybe add or come back from whatever we're doing. You come to that table when you're ready. Hold yourself in that center of gravity. Curl those toes. Lift into that first downward dog and let yourself move as much or as little as feels good. Breathing full and deep. Keep those knees bent in order to help bring that weight to the back body. Play around with coming up on your toes because that feels amazing. But when you settle in on those balls, the balls of your feet and the balls in your hands. So those knuckle sandwich knuckles, don't hyperextend the elbows. It's so easy to do, but you always want to have that nice soft bend, supported and strong. And you are breathing full and deep. Keep trying to lift your tail up into the sky. Find that connection to your navel. That is where you're moving from. Everything is extending from the center of you, and this pose right here definitely highlights all that. So the heels may or may not touch. The knees definitely are soft, and you're always trying to pull those kneecaps up into your thighs. After a couple more breaths, you're going to decide, do I want to step and lower down to the floor and then step up, or do I just want to walk to the front of my space? You can lower down to hands and knees and step up, or come to that forward fold. Let yourself play around here in this forward fold, finding the perfect balance between the balls and the heels. And then you are finding that hinge. So it's the same idea. Navel dimples down is your support. Navels dimple up. You're looking for that reach. So find that balance between those two places here in your forward fold. You might even have to pick up some of your body and move it out of the way to bring your upper body a little bit closer to your lower body, because you do want to feel that connection. That's what that forward fold is. And if you're got a lot of low back issues, finding that place of coming into that hinge totally helps that. And this is where you play around however feels good to you. Maybe you dangle and sway. Maybe you just hold in stillness. Use the floor or blocks, and eventually you're going to come to that forward fold. Make sure your feet only hip distance apart. On your inhale, I want you to press yourself up halfway flat back. Hands on the floor, blocks right above your knees, or reaching back by your hips. Exhale, reach for the floor. Inhale, halfway up, flat back. Exhale for the floor. This third time, we're either going all the way up in the reverse swan dive, or if you feel dizzy, press yourself up halfway, lift, and then press yourself up. And then here's where you reach up over your head, finding that length of back bend, and then hands to your heart, belly, one of each, out to the side. You notice how you feel. You are breathing in your mountain. This is where you're grounding down, and the balls and the heels lifting all 10 toes, feet hip distance apart, so legs hip distance apart, kneecaps up into your thighs. Do that little pelvic tilt where you drop your tail, so the back body grounding down, and then the front body, those hip flexors, they're lifting up. Everything that pulls into place. It might be a macro move, it might be a micro move for you, depending on what it takes to get that pelvis right into place. And then dimples, navel down, solid base. Dimples, navel up is that reach and that lift. And you use that that shoulder girdle to lift that heart a little bit higher and pull those shoulders out of your ears. Inhaling and exhaling. So to be in this mountain, it looks like you're doing nothing, but you are activating your whole self. And this right here is the most magnificent power pose, and it is the base of all the poses. And you should feel lovely, like you're floating, like you are supported and then pressing up. And if you can feel that, you're like, yes. And if you can sometimes feel it, you're like, I might be patient. You'll feel it again. And if you're like, I've never felt that, I'll be like, be patient. Keep doing yoga. You will feel it. So that's how I walk around all the time. I feel like I am completely supported and completely lifted, not just tethered down, but like to be pulled up into the space around me. It is amazing, and it's all about body awareness. So pay attention to your body. Find yourself at the top of your space, so you've got room to step back. You're in that mountain. Inhale, lift and reach into as much of the back bend as feels good to you. Here's where we're going to exhale into the forward fold. Find that hinge. Inhale, lift up, halfway, flat back. Exhale, come down and step back, plank, knee down plank, or even table. You could bring yourself to table. Of course, you could bring yourself to child as well. Hold in your plank, your knee down plank. Do all that same engagement so you feel the support of your body. Do not hyperextend those elbows. Hold yourself in your middle. Come to your knees or not to lower down to the floor. Keep those hands right underneath your shoulders, elbows right by your sides, and then lift up into a baby cobra. We're going to do 3 little baby cobras. You can let one cheek come down. You can flip your gaze and let the other cheek come down. And then this last time, either pause in a baby cobra, or if it's feeling okay in your body, lift up into that downward dog, or even up dog if you want to lift up off those thighs. Inhaling and exhaling. And then you either lengthen down or flip up into your downward dog. If you lengthen down and then you pull yourself into your downward dog, take your time, make your way to the front of your space, forward fold, halfway up, flat back, reach for the toes, back up above the head, back down to the toes, halfway up, back down to the toes, back to your plank, knee down plank, release to the belly, lift to your downward dog, and then back, or lift into your cobra, and then back into your downward dog. 2 big deep breaths here. Another sun salutation. Coming to the front of your space after those deep breaths. Make sure you feel solid. Halfway up, flat back. Exhale for the toes. Inhale for up above your head. Exhale for the toes. Doesn't matter what you're doing with your upper body. With those arms, lift up, halfway, flat back. Back down to the toes and step back. Maybe you're ready to hop back. It doesn't matter. Release to your knees if that's what feels good to you. Feel supported as you reach into your cobra, and then move into a downward dog. And we just did 3 in a row. We're going to pause here. Big, full, deep exchange of breath. And then once again, drop to your knees. Inhaling and exhaling. Make sure you're protecting yourself, taking drinks when you need them. letting yourself be with yourself right here, right now. Inhaling and exhaling. I love to do like an interval training in yoga. I like to get the heart rate going, and then I like to settle it down. Then I like to get it going again, and then I like to settle it down. So that's just kind of how I like to roll. And you're always in charge of, oh, look, my cat came again. Hi, Karma. Say hi to everyone. That's up to you how much you want to add. Take your time. Come to your table or your downward dog. It doesn't matter to make your way back to the front of your space. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Forward fold, halfway up, flat back. I never miss an opportunity for this. It's so awesome. Exhale down to the floor. Inhale, hinge all the way up. Take up all that space. We're going to pause standing. So if you do feel dizzy, take your time. A lot of times that can send your pressure going in a bunch of different directions and it feels like you're going to lose it. I want you to honor that and know that you're in charge of your own head rush. So if you want more of that, right, you have to keep doing yoga. But be in your mountain, be as active as much as feels good, keeping that girdle engaged, that pelvic girdle engaged, keeping that shoulder girdle engaged, feeling yourself right in the center and how you then radiate and move from the center of you. And feel that amazing, amazing power you have and all of the potential for more. Inhaling and exhaling. Fill up belly, ribs, chest. Exhale fully, chest, ribs, belly. And then you're going to bring yourself long ways. Turn your heels out, or turn your heels in, toes out. You really want to activate that pelvic girdle so you stay nice and engaged. You're in charge of how far away your legs are. Sometimes you have to even move further out. And I'm just holding myself right here because you want to just go straight down. Pay attention that you don't go back, which is what happens and which is how mine looked for a long time. So you really got to pull that tail down, and then you really got to pull those hip flexors forward. And you know what that does? That takes pressure right off that low back. And you then no longer feel any pain. And so you are hanging out in your goddess squat. If it does not feel good to have your arms raised, then don't raise your arms, but let a little energy build right here, breathing full and deep. Stay in your squat and lift your right heel, drop it, lift your left heel, and then start to move. And if you're like, nah, then just stay in your squat. Couple more times, inhaling and exhaling. Try to keep your core nice and steady. Inhale and exhale, breathing full and deep. And then pause, both heels lifted. It's a tough one. Pull that tail down, hip flexors up and go as far down as feels good. And then drop your heels and go a little bit further. And then you release. Woo, that was a big one. Reach those arms. The more you activate your whole core and stretch from that center, the more you're going to feel all that energy. And then take a moment. Notice how you feel standing on both feet. I like to move around a lot and get that blood flowing. These little joggers, I love them, but they keep running down. Yoga teacher problems. All right, stay with that. Facing the long edge. Keep your block nearby. Turn those right toes to the short edge. Let that left leg snuggle on back, and you are coming into your warrior two. So feel yourself with that engagement of the pelvis. Pull that tail down. Hip flexors coming up. Stretching from your center. Those shoulder blades not squeezed together. They are gently pulled down and tucked in. Kneecaps protected. You've got your right leg in that lunge. Feel your right inside of your right knee and the inside of your left hip flexor. Feel that place where they are connected, and then pull them gently apart. And you should feel that energetically with inside. You're doing it all with inside. Just like this thigh right here, you are energetically trying to pull that muscle from down here to up here. And you're trying to energetically pull the muscle from here down, and around. And that helps to bring that knee into alignment, which it should be right over that middle toe. And if you just think we're hanging out here in Warrior Two and I'm just babbling, I am just babbling, but we are hanging out in Warrior Two because this lunge is so good. All right, come into your side angle. This is where I love a good block. Hands down to that block or the floor. Lift that left arm. Try to find that length. You're not dumping down. It's not like all your weight. It's a lift, and then gently use your leverage against that limb to find that length. Inhaling and exhaling. You're probably feeling a lot of sensation in that right thigh, and your right buttock. That's where it should be. Lift. Here's where we're going to flip that right palm, come into that reverse triangle. Pay attention to your navel. Lengthen so pull yourself up with that navel so you lengthen that front leg, and then feel that side stretch a little bit more as you come into that reverse triangle. Always make sure you have complete control of your legs from dimples and navel down to the balls and toes, and staying with that complete control. So if you got to pull your stance in, please do, because it's all about finding that support. It's not about how far you can go or how wide it is. It's about how supported you are and using the leverage here. I'm moving that leg back. I'm finding that perfect place and then stretching. I'm doing all that same stuff, dropping the tail, pulling the hip flexors, keeping my kneecaps nice and protected. And then I am stretching into that lovely, lovely triangle. Inhale and exhale. Take your time. You're going to lift up. You're going to bring your hands back to your heart or your hips, and you're going to once again turn all 10 toes to face the long edge, and bring your feet a little bit closer together and take a moment and notice how you feel. If you're paying attention to all of what I'm asking you to pay attention to, you should feel like your right leg should feel fundamentally different than your left leg, and your left leg is now crying out. And then I'll use my favorite yoga teacher joke. Can you just take care of that later on? Can you get that left leg and call it even? I'm not going to make you do that. We're going to do it right now. Find that long side. Left toes are turning towards the short edge now. Right leg is coming back. And you are preparing for your Warrior Two. So your left heel and the front lining up with that back right arch. Pay attention to that knee. You're doing that engagement so you get that muscle rotated, and because that knee has a tendency to go towards the pinky, and you definitely want to try to pull it more towards the big toe. And then your whole front body is wide and over the long side of your mat, and you are breathing full and deep. So make sure you always have control. You can feel yourself press down and then lift up, and almost like you're seated right here. The feet aren't really what's supporting me. That's just keeping me lifted into space. Really what's supporting me and you is in your center of gravity. And it's all about finding that perfect pelvic alignment so you can find that seat within yourself. All right. Yep, I'm just babbling, but we are doing yoga. That's part of it. I'm trying to distract you with witty banter. Lift from that place. Inhaling and exhaling. Breathe full and deep. Inhale and exhale. Stay with that engagement, with that that activation as you flip into that beautiful reverse warrior, and then take your time with that length into that reverse triangle, and then take your time with that lift and then that reach with that left side into that triangle. So then the right side comes up. Inhaling and exhaling. Keep that kneecap protected. Keep trying to rotate your heart and your navel up to the sky. Breathing full and deep. Inhaling and exhaling. Stay connected to your breath. All right, take your time, lift yourself up, hands come to wherever feels supported. And then you're going to bring yourself back to facing the long edge of your space. Move those feet in, take a moment, notice how it feels. Do your legs feel a little bit more even now that you've done and stretched both sides, inhaling and exhaling? So then back to the back of your space. Make sure you've got plenty of room. You've moved your blocks off to the side if they're in the way. And then walk down those legs to come out into that downward dog. Breathe full and deep breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. Keep trying to find that lift a little bit higher with your lower body. So navel, tail up to the sky. And then find that lift and reach with the upper body, inhaling and exhaling. Come to your knees if you want, or you are going to lift the right leg here in a three-legged dog. So if you come to your knees, you're coming into a three-legged table. So come into that three-legged dog, lift that right leg, bend that right knee up to the sky. Try to stack those hips on top of each other. Try to keep your navel pointing towards that left leg as you gently look underneath that right underarm. Maybe your heart starts to sneak a little bit to the right. Feel that stretch. And then we're going to bring that right leg up between our hands. Take your time. If you want to come to your knees, you totally can. If you need to step up a few steps, you totally do that. And we're going to come into that crescent lunge. So keep pressing that left heel back. Keep that right knee right over that right ankle. And then lift into your crescent lunge. Keep trying to keep your hips square to the front of your space as you press back with that left heel. Inhale and exhale. If it's too much to have your arms up, have them at your heart, breathing full and deep. Inhale and exhale. All right, take your time. We're going to come from this crescent lunge into standing on that front right leg. You're going to bring that left foot up. I'm putting it on a block and then lifting. And so you see how I had that block? That's a great thing. But come into standing on that right foot with that left knee bent or that left foot on a block. Play around with balance. Right hand on left knee. Open up that left side. If you put your foot on the block, you're not putting all the weight. You get just a little bit more leverage. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful. Back to center. Lift that right leg, that left leg as high as you can. Press through the heel. And then let that leg swing like a pendulum. Don't let it hit the floor. Come into your warrior three. This is where you might want blocks. Try to get them about shoulder height, so your shoulder is high as your hips. Press back through that. Left heel on that's not touching anything, it's in the air. The right heel's on the ground. Try to stay with that sensation of pressing those heels, and then let yourself put that right hand down and play around with opening up to that standing, what is this, half moon, balancing half moon. You're playing around, not taking yourself too seriously. Just do whatever feels good, inhaling and exhaling. And then once again, bring yourself back. Try to keep that leg up. This is where a lot of props help. Pressing back through that left heel. Bend that front right knee. Let those toes come down. And then you are back in that runner's lunge. And then here's where we're going to press back to that three-legged dog again. Or you're going to three-legged table. Really feel that stretch. Keep trying to find the length where you can, the hinge where you can. Inhale and exhale. And then bring that right foot down. Pull yourself into plank and proceed through the flow where you drop and then lift up and then come in to your downward dog again. And then left leg goes up. Take your time. Make sure you feel supported. Left knee up to the sky. Breathing full and deep. Inhaling and exhaling. Decide how you want to bring that left leg forward into that runner's lunge. Make sure you've got the room. You know we're going to lift up into that warrior three, so you don't want to have to bang your head. So we come from the runner's lunge to the crescent lunge, inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. I've got that block right where I know my right foot is going to hit. So if you liked that, boop, then get that block in that place. Try not to grip too much with those left toes. And you are now in that standing pose, balancing on that one leg, coming into the twist. I mean, if you can reach the toes and stretch out, great. Breathe full and deep, inhaling and exhaling, bringing yourself back. Really challenge yourself. Press through that heel and then let that leg swing like a pendulum. Coming into that warrior three. So now I'm bringing the blocks because I know I'm going to need them for, I want them for after the warrior three. Pressing through the heels. Keep those hips nice and even and square. Keep that front body square to the floor. You're going to open up, whoa, into the balancing half moon. Sorry that I'm not facing you. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. Try to stack that right hip on top of the left hip. Keep pressing through that right heel. Inhale and exhale, and then very, very gently turn. Warrior three, and then back into the runner's lunge to come back to the plank, knee down plank, and then to proceed through the flow. And if you're like, no thanks, right? Don't do it. Just let yourself pull to that downward dog. So here's 2 to 3 big, long, deep breaths in downward dog. So you make your way back into that child's pose. Resting completely. Try to maintain that awareness of yourself from the inside out, pressing back into that space with your whole self, reaching up no matter what your arms are doing with your whole self to take up space. And then after you rest in that child for a bit, make sure that you're taking care of yourself, getting drinks when you need it. Make sure you've got a little cushion. We're going to be on our knees for just a second as we move through a few cat and cows. So stretch out from all that movement. Come into that neutral position. Hold yourself there right behind your navel, right in front of your tail. Keep your shoulders engaged. Keep your hips engaged. Press that left leg back, coming into that spinal balance. Really try to keep those hips even. Just let that right arm float up into that beautiful, if you're going to shake someone's hand, inhaling and exhaling, stay lifted up off your limb. If you want to bend that knee, and it helps to keep the knee up a little bit higher and then reach back for that foot. You don't have to reach and get it, but if you can, don't strain anything, don't hurt any elbows. Inhale and exhale, press up into that hand, and then you're releasing it all down. And even if you can't reach, just that stretch feels amazing, just reaching back for that foot. Now, you might have felt a lot of sensation on your wrists, so take a moment to gently wind your wrist around that joint. You're never harsh or rough with your joints. You're always protective of everything. Up into that table, take your time. That right leg comes back. Keep those hips even. So that makes that right leg is not flying up, that hip isn't flying up. Everything is pulled down and together. Stay lifted up off that left limb. That right arm, that right limb. As you reach that left limb, find that length. Inhale and exhale, and then bend that back leg and reach. Trying not to strain too much to come into that great big quad stretch back there, and then reach, and then everything comes down. You rest in that child again. Remember, you're not hurting your joints. You're winding around gently. And then you are going to come into pigeon. And you still might want cushion for your knee. So, because we're going to do another quad stretch there, bringing yourself up into that downward dog position. And if you don't want to come into pigeon this way, of course you don't have to. But from downward dog, right knee to right arm, right foot to left hand, and then let that back left leg sneak back. I still got it on the cushion, trying to keep those hips even. Keep trying to bring your navel to square to the floor, the front of your body square, and then lengthen over if that feels good to you. If it does not feel good to you, maybe staying up. And then of course there's other variations of pigeon. There's on your back and there's seated. But we worked up some good oxygenated blood, so let's spend a few breaths here. I've got my right foot, I'm wiggling it. I've got that right foot flexed to keep it nice, and that keeps that knee protected. And I'm staying lifted. I'm not dumping down to that right side. I'm staying lifted in my center of gravity. And then this is where it all depends on your body. I like to bend that back knee. And then I'm gently pressing down with that left knee. And then I'm gently pressing down with my right knee. And then I am pulling myself between those two. And that is an amazing little thing. But if it does not feel good in your body and you're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about now, this is weird, then don't do it. But I just think it's amazing. It just adds a little bit extra. So if you did do that, let it go, and then we're going to reset. So reset can be back into child or table, or it could be up into a three-legged dog to come back into a downward dog, to then come into the other side, to lift and bring left elbow to the left hand, left foot to the right hand, and then you're in your king pigeon to start with. That back right knee's protected. It's like that back leg, it's like you're dragging it forward. You're staying lifted, not dumping down, staying lifted. And then coming into that fold over the legs if it feels good. And being here for a few breaths, inhaling and exhaling, noticing how you feel. This might seem like it goes a little bit longer, because it probably will. We typically, yoga teachers, always start with the right and spend a lot of time there, and then they move quickly through the left. We're going to spend just a few extra breaths on the left, just to get that oxygenated blood deep where it needs to go. So you can also practice not attaching to your thoughts and your pattern of thoughts, and just being with your breath, knowing that you have nothing else to do but be here, right now, paying attention to the sensation in your leg. If you want to do that bend and play around with the knee thing, so that right knee is bent back there, and I'm pressing gently down. I'm staying lifted up off those legs, and then that left knee is pressing down, and then I'm just kind of floating in between both those places. And it's one of those things, play around with it. Maybe you're like, I never thought of it, I've tried it, I love it. Or maybe you're like, I never thought of it, I tried it and I hate it. Or maybe you're like, that's just interesting. It really doesn't matter. It's just out there now. I hope you do try it. I hope you do love it. Feeling full and deep with your breath. And then we're going to reset. Doesn't matter what it looks like. It can look exactly like what you did before, but on this side. Or it could be something completely different. Coming into that reset, I definitely recommend a reset. You definitely want to rest down, especially maybe in a child for a few breaths. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing deep. And then take your time to come onto the stomach. Letting yourself lay prone on your mat. Letting yourself just rest one cheek down and bend those knees and windshield wiper back and forth. And you're staying connected to your breath and right here, right now. Feel that nice massage. Press down with that pelvis. So feel that engagement. You're doing all that same stuff. The lower body from navel and dimples down is a solid base. And then navel and dimples up is you're finding that reach and that length. So bring those hands down by your sides, bring those legs straight down behind you and walk them in and then look down at your mat. This is the only engagement, is looking down at your mat, breathing full and deep. You're not lifting into the space yet. Let yourself reach from your center. That is the engagement. So your upper and lower body are reaching from your center, from your navel, dimples down, navel, dimples up. And then if it serves you, start to let your upper body, your chest, and your arms float up off the floor. And then if it serves you as well, keep squeezing the legs together as you let them float up. And you can always bring the arms and upper body down and let the legs float up, or just keep the legs down and let the upper body float. Take another inhale and then exhale, release, windshield wiper, rock, circles. I guess you really can't circle, but rock and sway side to side, inhaling and exhaling. Filling up belly, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, belly. And then into a second variation. It can look like the same, or if you want to add more of a shoulder opener element, and if it feels all right, you can either bring your hands together, protecting, so your knuckles are gently clasped, protecting your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your delicate digits. Only if it serves you, pull those knuckles down and lift, pulling those shoulders back a little bit more, maybe getting a nice stretch in your heart. Don't let your legs squeeze or fall apart. Let them pull together. And if it doesn't feel good to have your hands clasped, just reach. And then when you're done, you release, you rest down, inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. And then another quad stretch for those. But this is like all over actually. And you can do one at a time. Burp. Sort of similar, except we reached across. Now we're reaching same side. Or, and this is where you want to be really careful and protect yourself and try not to do too much straining. Try not to do any elbow hurting as you press those feet into those hands. This really can hurt your elbows. Inhale and exhale. Find your bow and then release, rock, circle. I'm sorry, not circle, just drop side to side. I'm so used to saying circle all the time. All right, press yourself up. I'm gonna say circle here when we get on our back. Let yourself move through a few cat and cows. Let your body reset. I love to be up in a cat, bringing my forehead to my thigh, really pressing up through that solar plexus, and then keeping myself in that position, coming back into a child. It is amazing how much space there is in that low back when you do that. And then take your time lift yourself up, make your way onto your back. Finding that place on your back where you feel comfortable. You have to do some arrangement with your pelvis and your shoulders here. It starts with keeping your feet on the ground and just doing those windshield wipers. Imagine you have that weighted blanket on. So even your glutes are heavy, so your butt is heavy, and there's just room to stick your legs out, right? And then stick your arms out. Your shoulder sockets are heavy. There's a space for your face where you can breathe and talk, but your forehead's heavy, your ears are heavy, your chin is heavy. And the more you do that, the more you're able to then find that perfect place for your pelvis. Do that little adjustment where you drop. So you do your navel is 12, your pubic bone is 6. And then you bring awareness to the 9 and the 3, and your knees really aren't moving here. It is all your pelvis. And I'm trying to really exaggerate so you see, I'm keeping my hands so you see how it's kind of moving up and down. Let yourself move however feels good. And then if you want to pick your feet up after you find that perfect place, because if you pick your feet up too soon, it can hurt your low back. Let yourself rock and circle here, inhaling and exhaling. Maybe circle the ankles a few times. Maybe pop your toes out, your arms, or wherever, if they're on your body or out to the side. It really doesn't matter. Just let yourself move in whatever way feels good until your breath comes to a manageable level. And then you're going to leave that right leg hugged in. Let that left leg extend. You're in that half wind reliever, pressing through both heels, keeping those shoulders out of your ears, keeping that chin tuck, staying right here, not going any further unless you want to. And that's when you raise, lift up that heel. Don't strain your neck. Inhale and exhale. Now when you come back down, don't let go of that right leg. Let it stay right where it's at. Keep that left hand on that right leg. Excuse me, right arm out. Shoulder height. I got my palm down, and I'm going to jiggle a little bit onto this left hip in order to give me a little bit more support as I pull that right knee across, keeping that right shoulder blade connected. Your gaze is wherever. Maybe it feels good to look over those right fingers. Maybe it feels good to go up to the sky. Use that left hand as support or a gentle press. Pay attention to your low back and try to move this twist into your middle back. This is definitely a sensation of your heart going to the right, your navel going to the left. So try to feel that. Inhale and exhale. And then take your time. Maybe use that left hand on that right knee. Now bring that right leg down next to the left. You're in a neutral position. And then reset with a bend, a windshield wiper, a rock, a circle. And then you're going to hug that left knee in. Same thing, other side. Press through that heel. Press through both heels, and you're not pulling your shoulders out of your ears. So if you've reached up for the top of that shin, make sure you bring your shoulders back down out of your ears. Remember, you don't have to go any further than right here. But if you want more, roll up, pop up that heel, inhale and exhale, and then let yourself come down. Right hand stays on left knee, left arm comes out, shoulder height, palm up or palm down. This whole left arm is going to stay. I'm going to jiggle a little bit onto that right hip, and then let that left knee come across. So the twist comes into my middle back, navel and heart going in opposite directions. That right hand can be a press. It can be support. So maybe you don't twist as much. Maybe that knee doesn't come down to the ground, but it's okay because the twist is in your middle back and you're paying attention to your anchor and you're twisting from your anchor, which is really where the magic is. not here. It's more, at least for me, up here. All right, take your time. Back onto your back. Let yourself extend and then once again bend, rock, circle, windshield wiper, whatever feels good to you. Move on your back any way that feels comfortable. Rocking, circling, doing any sort of pose that would feel good to you, and maybe another twist, happy baby, something to help you settle in for that final relaxation. I will sit here and meditate for a few moments while you are in relaxation, and I will bring you out. So hopefully you have a few moments where you can lay and let this whole practice integrate just a little bit deeper in to your muscle memory. So when you're ready, let yourself just lay on your back, support your knees if they're needed, support your head if it's needed. And of course, if laying on your back isn't good, have a seat in meditation with me. Start to bring your awareness to your breath and your body. Slowly waking up from relaxation. Let a little twitch come into your fingers and your toes. That gentle circling into your wrists and ankles. Take time with the bend of the knees and the elbows. And spend a few breaths there on your back. Make sure that your pelvis, your tail stays heavy to protect that low back. And then when you're ready, move to your fetal-like position. So rest on one hip, one shoulder, that very first position you were ever in. Once again, connect to that deep, full breathing where your navel is the beginning and the end, and that is your root. And you should be grateful that you visited it. And move through life connected to your root. You'll find that it keeps you connected to your truth and your purpose. So press yourself up into that comfortable position. You can bring your hands together when you're ready. And I say namaste. Thank you so much for practicing. Have a good one. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.